Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome every one of you, all our esteemed dignitaries, to the Safa virtual training program, which would be instrumental in preparing the students to face the future. To commemorate the occasion, I would like to invite to the platform CA Jaichara with a small introduction. CA Jaichara is a senior council member with admirable credentials, charismatic personality, and immense knowledge. He has to his credit several degrees and has studied advanced management at severe reputed institutions in Italy, Germany, US, UK, and China. Additionally, he has been associated with ICAI activities since 1995, and he is also currently serving his third consecutive term in the Central Council and has held many committees as the chairman. Currently, he is the chairman of the Board of Studies, vice chairman of Committee for Capital Markets, and besides that, he is a member of 28 other committees of ICAI. Currently, he is also serving as the chairman of the Safa Committee on Education, Training, and CPT. On this occasion, I would like CA Jaichara to take up the platform and give us the welcome address, please. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Tapoladda. A very good afternoon to all of you. Mr. A.K.M. Delwar Hussain, President Safa, Mr. Henayake Bandara, Vice President Safa, CA Niyar Jambusaria ji, President ICAI, CA Debashish Mitra ji, Vice President ICAI, today's speaker, Mr. A.K.M. Kamruzuman, Mrs. Mansi Agarwal, and all my dear friends. A very good afternoon to you. And first of all, let me compliment Mudit Vasishji, who has actually been the person who has worked very well on this particular program. And this is a very unique program. This is a very unique program. I must actually compliment as well as thank all our member countries, all our members of this particular committee from different countries, all our neighbors, that we have come together for a wonderful cause. That is the youth of our region. And this is, I think, for the first time, we have come with such a beautiful concept where we have speakers from all the various countries and speaking on some beautiful topics. Friends, you all will agree with me that when it comes to chartered accountants, cost accountants, they are wonderful. And when they particularly come from our part of Asia, if they are from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and definitely they are excellent. They are excellent in income tax. They are excellent in other taxation law. They are excellent in auditing. They are excellent in accounts. I think when it comes to technical aspects, they are the best in the world. And I think that is what we have proved. Our region has collectively proved that some of the finest professionals we produce, these countries, our institutes produce. But along with the technical skills, management skills are equally important. Along with the aptitude, attitude is also very important. It is always said that more than your aptitude, it is your attitude which determines your altitude. So with this in mind, we felt that along with the technical subjects that we deal with, and of course we'll have a number of programs on that, Safa CPD and Education Committee is a very vibrant committee. We keep on meeting, we keep on discussing about the requirements for members and students, and we'll be having a series of programs on technical skills. But more important than that are the management skills, the entrepreneurial skills, the soft skills, the skills related to technology. And hence, today we are starting a great series where we'll be having topics like leadership, persuasive communication, negotiation skills, and our speakers are the best chosen speakers from all our neighboring countries. So today it's an inaugural session. I think it's a great pleasure. It's a great pleasure to start this particular program. At the same time, I must apologize also. Actually, I am out of my city for a rainy trek, and that's why I'm in casuals. On such a very great program, I should have been very much into formals, but being out of in the rainy place, it was not feasible. I thank very sincerely all my colleagues of the Safa CPD and Education Committee, all the institutes for coming together for such a wonderful program. I must very sincerely thank my president and vice president CA Niyar Jambusaria ji and CA Debashish Mitra ji, who keep on guiding me, who keep on inspiring me for this program also. I have taken a lot of inputs from them. They have guided me a lot, and it is only because of their faith in me and their guidance I was in a position to interact with all of you and all our members of this Safa committee. I must very sincerely thank and compliment for coming together once again. And I'm sure the students are going to enjoy all the various topics which are so very important. Along with the curriculum, what they are studying, these subjects, I'm sure these topics are going to add a fragrance to the flower. This is a great pleasure, I must say that. And I must thank once again all of you. And I'm sure this series is going to enrich all of us. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, for a brilliant welcome address. Now I would like to invite CA Dr. Debashish Mitra, who is the current Vice President of ICAI, to take up the platform. Before that, a few words about sir. He has been serving the accounting profession for last more than 34 years. Dr. Mitra is a senior practicing member, is also a cost accountant, company secretary, holds a master degree in commerce, law graduate, and a qualified information systems auditor. With a keen interest in academic research, he's a doctorate in the complex and intricate area of accounting standards and has been awarded PhD on the topic of critical study of select Indian GAAP, US GAAP, IS, IFRS. With these credentials in the jewel of his crown, I would like to welcome CA Dr. Debashish Mitra to take up the platform and raise the program further. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Banerjee Mudit from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Mr. AKM Dilwara, President Safa, Mr. Bandara, who is the Vice President Safa, the President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Neha Chambusaria, Jay Chhera, who heads this committee in Safa, as well as is the Chairman of Board of Studies Academic of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and to all the delegates, the panelists who are here for this very important program. Let me start off by, letting you know a quote for which Jay Chhera is very famous. Jay always says, innovate or evaporate. And at the Institute, you see, we have been always in the past and presently, we have been trying our best to innovate. When COVID struck us last year, the first aspect which the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India thought was how to reach across the students and how to ensure that they get the very best in academics. What we did, we started off where we commenced on the virtual classes for our foundation, intermediate, and final course. The virtual classes we started off, we didn't know where exactly we'll go. But as time progressed, the whole concept caught on. And today, the virtual classes that the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has started has become a permanent feature. To those of us who are hearing me, let me tell you, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is the second largest accounting body in the world, and its student strength is more than 750,000, out of which about 43% are ladies. So you see, we have a perfect balance of gender as long as student strength is concerned in the institute. I was telling you about the virtual classes, but along with the virtual classes, with the pandemic coming and with the challenges of the pandemic, there was this demand that to what extent the study materials that the institute had for the students of foundation, intermediate, and final courses, to what extent the study materials should be made more interesting by including therein more illustrations. And that is what we did last year. We revised the study materials, had more illustrations to make learning a great fun experience for the students. So at the institute, we are always trying to innovate. Now we have got a mobile application. A student can use this application to further enhance his knowledge. I believe more than 1 lakh have taken full advantage of the mobile applications that the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has introduced. And now This is noting that with the changing times, the course curriculum also requires a change. The institute has now set up the CRET, the Committee for Review of Education and Training, which is usually done once in 10 years, but under the leadership of our visionary president, Niha Jambusaria, we have introduced the CRET after 5 years, and we hope that, you see, very quickly, we shall, we will have this review of the education and training system complete, and maybe we shall go ahead with a new course curriculum, which will be in sync with the requirements of the changing times. The institute has been conducting the exams despite the challenges of the pandemic. We have just completed the exams in the month of July. And let me tell you today, our examination system is totally digitized. The correction, when an examiner corrects the papers, he goes for a totally digital system of correcting papers. So as I said, and to all the students who are hearing me, let me tell you, learning should be fun. And learning should be also application oriented, which we are trying our best to do so because with the introduction of the case studies. I'm sure as we go ahead, the panelists will also tell the same story that, you see, we have to apply our mind when you do these courses, whether it's cost accountancy or chartered accountancy. And most importantly, the learning that we do should be really fun. It should be enjoyable, and it should be really, really enlightening. With these words, I congratulate Safa, and I congratulate Jay Chheda and everybody else who are involved for having organized this program. And I wish great success for this endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your excellent, inspiring words of erudition. We are always thankful for you for bringing out the critical insights of the profession. Now I would like to invite C.A. Niharan Jambusaria, who is the current president of ICAI and is currently serving the third consecutive term in the ICAI Council. C.A. Jambusaria is the member of Professional Accountants in Business PIIB Advisory Group of International Federation of Accountants, IFAC. He, in his capacity as President ICAI, is representing ICAI on International Integrated Reporting Council and the board of South Asian Federation of Accountants, Safa. He has also served as member of Safa Committee of Professional Accountants in Business, PIB. Sir, with these words, I would like to invite you to the platform so as to take the program forward with your words. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tapulabda. Good afternoon, everybody. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the inauguration session of Safa virtual training program, preparing students to face the future, being organized by the Committee on Education, Training and CPD of Safa and being hosted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Let me at the outset congratulate the chairman of this committee, C.A. Jay Chheda, and the two leaders of Safa, Delver Hussain ji, President of Safa, and Bandara ji, Vice President of Safa. Also present is the Vice President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, C.A. Dr. Debashish Mitra. So welcome you all, and it's a great pleasure that India is given this opportunity to host this conference. In the pandemic time, I think this is the best way to utilize the talents of all the countries and give benefit of this knowledge and experience of speakers from various countries to the students. In India, as Debashish ji mentioned, we have 7.5 lakh students, and I'm sure that through this conference, the students will have the benefit of knowledge and experience of the speakers of the different countries of Safa. It is a unique program which is being organized, and pandemic has made us learn as to how to utilize the technology platform for the benefit of members and students. And I think in the past, this kind of program may not have been arranged because we were earlier meeting physically. Now on virtual mode, this is one benefit that we have found, and we can always explore and frequently utilize it. In India, it is true that just after 5 years of last revision, we have set up committee for review of education and training. As now the world has become very dynamic, changes are so frequent that we felt that we must have this committee to once again review the entire syllabus and modules holistically and come out with a new module which should fit the new way of working of businesses and the new knowledge that has come out in the market for the benefit of all. When we set up this committee, the process is very robust. Like, we consult the educationists, we consult all the stakeholders, that is practicing chartered accountants, members who are in corporates and business, and even the teachers and parents and students take their views and review the entire system. And we will share our new system with you at some time in future after we come out with the new syllabus and the new training modules. Technology, it goes without saying that I think every country of the world will have to embrace technology for the benefit of students and see that right from the student stage, they use technology extensively and they don't have to undergo post-qualification courses after they qualify. Apart from this, life is filled with uncertainty and worries. And these kind of programs would give a lot of confidence to the students that we are not lost amidst the uncertainties. There are many new fields opening up, and it is not that pandemic has destroyed everything. In fact, pandemic has taught us new lessons, and technology is teaching us as to what is going to be the future and how we need to be molded for the future. So once again, let me welcome everybody, and I'm sure that through this conference, students will have great value add, and Safa will take this as a stepping stone and keep on organizing similar conferences for the benefit of students. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an informative address. We and our students are really thankful to you for thrusting a lot of confidence and belief into the young minds, thereby molding them for a bright future. Thank you so much. Now I would like to invite Mr. AKM Jalwar Hussain, President Safa, FCMA, who is a senior fellow member of the Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of Bangladesh. He has served ICMA Bangladesh as its president for 2 times in the year 2004 and 2013. He was elected as a board member and also member of the Strategic Committee of the Confederation of Asian and Pacific Accountants, CAPA, in the year 2004. Mr. Hussain has also acted as chairman of state-owned corporation, namely Bangladesh Sugar and Food Industries Corporation, from 2014 to 19. Additionally, he has been a director of many renowned companies. Sir, may I please request you to take over the platform and please endow us with your kind words of erudition. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mr. Henaike Bandra, Vice President Safa, is my very much close colleague, Safa. Respected President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants India, CA Nihar and Jambursia, and CA Jai Shiria, Chairman, Committee on Education, Training and CPD of Safa, CA Dr. Devashish Mitra, Vice President, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Mr. Akem Kamrujaman, my fellow council colleague, and one of the brilliant member of ICMAB, is my very beloved younger brother. Mrs. Manushi Agarwal, international corporate trainer and transformational speaker, distinguished guests and participants, most importantly, all the students from all the member bodies of Safa. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to you all. I hope you are all doing well aimed COVID-19. I am indeed very happy to be here amidst all of you at the inaugural session of Safa virtual training program, preparing students to face the future, being hosted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. As you all know, that Safa, that is South Asian Federation of Accountants, was set up in 1984 for promoting the accounting profession in the countries in South Asia and internationally, with a mission to bring the accounting bodies in the region together at a common forum and facilitate professional cooperation in the areas of education, training, technical, and ethical standard. Safa, as an IFAC network partner, has been playing a pivotal role for the harmonization of professional standards in the areas of accounting and auditing, ethics, and education. And it is committed to raise the level of profession in the region. Safa provides special impetus to cooperation amongst its member bodies for the overall growth of the accountancy profession in the SHARC region and explores means in which it has representative forum could play profile role in the development of the accountancy profession. The role being played by Safa for development of the accountancy profession in the SHARC region and for economic development of the region as a whole has been exemplified through the innovative work being carried through its various technical committees working in the area of education, accounting and auditing standards, government accounting, quality control, ethics, and many other topical and emerging areas in the accountancy profession. Dear all, South Asian Federation of Accountants Safa represents over 3,75,000 accountants having membership of all the national chartered accountancy and cost and management accountancy institutions in the South Asian countries, namely Bangladesh, Afghanistan, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Maldives, and Sri Lanka. We are glad to inform that the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Maldives has also been admitted as an associate member of the Safa with effect from January 2021. Although we cannot predict with certainly the types of jobs that will exist in the future, we know that today's students will need a variety of skills which are calling 21st century skill. In a world, a rapid change, young people need to the right mix of skills to thrive. Knowing this, we should provide all students with authentic, unique, and innovative learning experiences that will foster the development of this essential skill. Access to information is increasing and memorizing facts is less important today than in the past. Although academic skills remain important, they are not sufficient to foster thoughtful, productive, and engaged citizens. Young people everywhere need to develop a greater breadth of skill to elevate and apply knowledge in ways that meet the new demands of our changing social and economic landscape. Dear students, skills like communication, teamwork, critical thinking, and flexibility have always been important for work and life, but they will be even more crucial for future generations like you one. Rapid advances in the technology and transforming the world of work. I'm delighted that this virtual training session will help the students to learn about leadership, dream big, teamwork, works, industry. covering all blockchain and data analytics, strategy and implementation, and delegation and negotiation. Dear fellows, the COVID-19 pandemic has dramatically changed the education for the students with the distinctive rise of e-learning, whereby the teaching is undertaken remotely and on digital platforms. The Committee on Education Training of CPD of Safa is organizing a virtual training program, preparing students to face to future for the student of Safa member bodies, which is being hosted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants India, which certainly adds significant value of the educational career of students in this region, I believe. You may all got to the training scheduled by this time. I welcome all of you to this Safa virtual training program, preparing students to face the future. I am sure that the flow of knowledge at the training program will be great benefit to all of our students' communities. At the end, I finish with the quote of Mr. Paul J. Mayer, who is considered as the pioneer of the self-improvement industry. When you view your world with an attitude of gratitude, you are training yourself to focus on the good in life. Thank you very much for patient hearing. Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful address, wherein we came to know about the brilliant achievements made by the Safa committee under your commendable leadership. We and our students are very much delighted to hear your words full of knowledge and wisdom. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
On the note, sir, we would like to invite Mr. ICAI Bandara, who is the Vice President Safa. He's a fellow FCMA and founder member of CMA Sri Lanka and joined the council in the year 2012. He is the incumbent Vice President of CMA Sri Lanka and has been associated with Safa since 2005. He also had the opportunity to work very closely with all the Sri Lankan past presidents of Safa. He's a past president of Association of Accounting Technicians of Sri Lanka, as well as the past president of Association of Professional Bankers Sri Lanka, Treasurer Organization of Professional Associations of Sri Lanka, Director Institute of Bankers of Sri Lanka, and Council Member of Sri Lankan Institute of Advanced Technological Education. Sir, we would like to invite you to the platform for please placing your words for all our students. Please come.
Thank you, Madam. Good afternoon to you all. President Safa, President ICAI India, our most valued invited speakers, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants. At the outset, let me congratulate ICAI India for organizing a timely, important event and extending an invitation to me. I'm glad to associate with the inauguration session of 4-day Safa virtual training program hosted by ICAI India. Today, my task is to appreciate and recognize the contribution of valued speakers and the effort taken by your institute to organize a training program of this nature to enhance your knowledge and make you aware of the challenges ahead of you. I'm happy to note that the experts in various fields from most of the member bodies of Safa will be participating in the technical sessions over a 4-day period as speakers. I'm sure that this program will be benefited to all of you immensely to face the future business environment as professionals and to serve the society at large. With that note, on behalf of Safa, first let me thank Mr. Lilla Hussain, President Safa, for accepting the invitation extended by ICAI India to participate in this program and delivering an excellent, very short speech on the subject area. Mr. President, your commitment and participation in this program is greatly appreciated. Let me also thank Mr. Neha Jambusari, President ICAI India and board member of Safa, for delivering an admirable speech and providing the leadership to organize a training program of this magnitude for the benefit of the students and members. We greatly appreciate your dedication and support. I also would like to thank Dr. Dibasi Mitra, the Vice President of ICAI India, for the valuable contribution made and the expertise provided in organizing this event and delivering an exceptional speech, highlighting the importance of understanding the future and to be equipped with all new technological developments and skills. Finally, I would like to thank Mr. J. Cha, Chairman, Committee on Education, Training and CPD of Safa, Mr. Mudit, who is always there to help us, and ICAI team for all the arrangements made to have a successful and timely important event. And all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for your participation. Hope to see you all again. Take care. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful vote of thanks. We're really delighted to hear you. Going onward towards our technical session, I would like to invite Mr. AKM Kamruzaman, FCMA, who is currently working as a Senior Executive Vice President and Head of Operations at Lanka Bangla Finance Limited, a leading financial institution in Bangladesh. He is also currently a nominated director by Lanka Bangla Finance Limited in the board of Lanka Bangla Asset Management Company Limited. Being a member of the Committee for Improvement in Transparency, Accountability and Governance ICAI of Safa, Mr. Kamruzaman is currently a National Council member, bearing the office as Treasurer and the Chairman, Training Committee of the Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of Bangladesh. He is also member of different committees of ICME. I would like to add that in earlier 2018, he served as the chairman of the Dhaka Branch Council of ICMAB, and proud to that, for 4 consecutive years, he has served as an elected member of the DBC of ICMAB. With hearty note, we congratulate you for your success and would like to call you to take the platform for giving us an enthralling session for the students. Please, sir, over to you.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable President Safa, Mr. Delwar Hussain, FCMA, Honorable Vice President Safa, Mr. Hanaik Bandara, Honorable President ICAI, Mr. Nihar Jambusaria, Honorable Vice President ICAI, Mr. Debashish Mitra, and Honorable Chairman, Safa Education, Training and CPD Committee, Mr. Joy Charia, all the participating students of Safa professional accountancy organizations, and distinguished guests. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. I will be presenting the technical paper 1 on youth leadership. Actually, youth leadership is area of interest that has been getting the priority over the last few years, considering their role in the sustainability of our planet. So let me share the screen for the presentation. So actually, it is very difficult to cover all the aspects of leadership in a presentation of 45 minutes, but I will try to cover the fundamental concepts of leadership and also the role of youth in the leadership development process and contribution to towards the sustainability of the planet. So let me start with the definition of youth leadership. Youth leadership is the practice of teens exercising authority over themselves or others. Basically, the concept has further been elaborated as a theory of youth development, which actually covers the skills and knowledge necessary to lead civic engagement, education reform, community organizing. It also further related with youth voice and youth empowerment. I would actually explain the terminology later in the next slide. So understanding what are the roles of youth, let me explain the terminologies. Civic engagement or civic participation. This is basically individual or group activity. It may be political or non-political actions, which actually addresses public concerns to protect their public values and that actually ultimately promotes the quality of the community. So next, what is actually education reform? Education reform is the chronology of significant systematic revisions made to amend the educational legislation, standards, methodology, and also policy affecting a nation's public school system. And that is to reflect the needs and values of contemporary society so that the society can get benefit in terms of social returns in citizens, health, wealth, and well-being. So community organizing, on the other hand, is a process which is actually where the community members come together as an organization that acts in their shared self-interest. Youth voice, which is a very important concept in youth leadership development, that is actually distinct ideas, opinions, attitudes, and knowledge and actions of young people as a collective body. So it actually facilitates a diversity of perspective and experiences, regardless of backgrounds, identities, and cultural differences. So from different angles, youth can combine themselves into a forum, and that is actually youth voice, raising the voice towards the youth empowerment, and so that the society can get benefit out of that. Youth empowerment, on the other hand, is a process where actually young people take in charge of their lives. Actually, they do themselves and they learn by doing themselves. So ultimately, they get empowered. There is a little difference between youth leadership and youth empowerment. Development is centered on developing individuals, whereas actually empowerment is focused on creating greater community change. So actually, what are the values of youth leadership? So far, actually, youth leadership remains improperly defined and is often disregarded because we, the adult, believe that the responsibilities of youth lie somewhere in the future, not right now. And again, in the workplace, we also delay their leadership positions because of inexperience, because of deficiency in experience. And what actually happens out of that, limiting youth's participation in leadership will automatically disadvantage them, and we will continue to exclude leadership ready for our future. So with the fact that leadership competencies within the young people can be assessed, and as it can be assessed, so if we understand and appreciate their potential, we will be able to develop model so that can facilitate their development as leaders. On the other hand, if we look at the Generation Z population, they're actually having so much of information due to digital technologies that they're in a better position to understand the future. So if the adult leadership don't take them in charge, don't facilitate them to take in charge of their lives, to take leadership role, ultimately we will be in a position of succession losses. And that will not facilitate our objective to ensure a continuation of our future leadership. So what is the importance of leadership? It is both beneficial for youth generation themselves and also for organizations and business. Youth people through leadership practice are able to be professionals. It helps them to boost their self-confidence and it also shape their identity. On the other hand, businesses and organizations, they will be having ready their future leaders. So in times of need, they can have the expertise of those leaders. So another important aspect is that youth leaders are generally more technology savvy compared to the previous generation. And moreover, they understand the current and future trends better as a result of growing up in the different era, in the digital era. So if we can use them, then organization can connect with the current and emerging markets with the opportunities prevailing in the market. There are some models of youth leadership development. This model has been actually communicated by Journal of Leadership Educations. Here actually they proposed for youth development about the 5 development areas, that is cognitive development, motivational development, affective development, behavioral development, and ethical development. And details will be follows actually. This is another model by Wiley online library, and this is almost same as the previous one. Here actually they propose to develop youth with building their skills and competencies and enabling them to take actions, and also facilitating these skills and actions through congenial and supporting environment. Ultimately, in combination of these three, the youth leadership can be fostered to develop. This is another model by New York City Department of Youth and Community Development. Here again, they have proposed for a model where actually they propose skills development for core skills for youth like social and emotional intelligence, collaboration, and communication. And on the other hand, they also propose that they should be in the action-oriented activities so that they can be motivated, they can master the skills with practice, and ultimately they grow as leaders. And not only that, there is also the model also suggests that they should be give reflection actually. They should get the reflection on their skills development, on their activities. They should get the feedback so that they can rectify their skills, reshape their skill, upskill them for the development. So this is actually a process proposed by Pioneers Youth Leadership and Education Program. And all these actually models and processes boils down to three aspects of youth leadership development. The first one is assess their leadership competence and potential. We can use science-based and unbiased models to assess their competencies so that this model can address their needs, can give them insight into their various development needs, and by that doing so, enable an all-inclusive platform of leaders within the workforce. And not only that, they also need to be given feedback and recognition. Youth are actually not oblivious to their mistakes and achievements. They are fully conscious of their shortfalls, and they expect that they receive the feedback on their activities, whether that is negative. If it is negative, they want feedback on areas of improvement. And if those are positive, they want recognition and also appreciation from the leadership. So that is also important. And the third one is enabling a continuous learning environment. Actually, for experience deficiency, we should not be pushed aside them from leadership position. We should facilitate them. We should assess their competencies. We should assess their potential and give them the positions. In that way, actually, we can make them ready today for the future. So all these models actually suggest that competence for youth leadership should be developed across 5 C's as proposed by learners. Those are competence, confidence, connection, caring or compassion, character, and the 6th C is contribution. I will explain details these concepts in later slides. So all these C's, if we can develop these skills and competencies within the youth leadership, they will be likely to behave negatively. They will not be likely to behave negatively. On the other hand, they will be developmentally on target. So one of the major challenges for today's youth is the sustainability of the planet. In 2015, United Nations launched 17 global sustainability development goals. Actually, the global goals. These goals are actually for sustainability of the environment, to protect the planet, reduce poverty, and ensure health, safety, and education for all. Youth has a significant role to play in it, and it is also important for them because they are actually will be the beneficiary for these efforts of United Nations. And for doing that, in 2015, United Nations launched Youth Leadership Program. So far, under the program, in 4 cycles, they have worked with 20,000 youth and also supporting 7,000 projects, which actually helps and facilitate sustainability development goals. And each year under the project, they nominate global citizens as young leaders for the sustainability development goals. For example, in 2018, they nominated 17 citizens globally, out of whom 4 were from these our Safa countries. Like Shaugat Nabin Khan, she was a 27-year-old from Bangladesh, established HA Digital School and College. Now the school is serving 600 students from 50 unprivileged communities. Ankit Kawata, a 24-year-old from India, founded Feeding India in 2014 to address hunger and food waste. Trisha Shetty, 26-year-old from India, launched She Says in 2015, a platform to educate, rehabilitate, and empower women to take direct action against sexual assault. Safa Ahmed Jahir, 25-year from Maldives, she is leading a women's rights activist dedicated to elevate the role of women in her country. So actually, globally, youth generation are being patronized by the United Nations to contribute in the sustainability of the planet. So understanding the importance of youth leadership, we need to understand the basic concepts of leadership. Let's start with the leadership definition. Different people has defined leadership in different terms. So one popular definition that actually attracted me is the leadership definition by Kevin Cruz, CEO of LeadX. He's defined that leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal. You see, there are 4 elements in this definition. One is social influence. So leadership is not authority for formal power. Another is leadership is dealing with others. That not necessary that the followers need to be the direct reports. And these also not speak about personal traits. So leaders can actually utilize many styles, many paths, and that can be lead to effective leadership. So it is not actually trait oriented. On the last is the goal, actually the purpose that drive actually all the efforts of the leader and also the followers. So if I want to say popularity, leaders are essentially people who know their goals and have the power to influence the thoughts and actions of others to garner their support and cooperation. Why? To achieve these goals. There are many leadership theories which evolved from time to time. I don't want to go all these by as time is limited. These leadership theories can be categorized in 3 broad areas. The first one being the great man theories, which evolved into trait theories. Actually, those theories suggest that leader is born. So leadership qualities are innate. Either you are lucky that you are born with those, or you are unlucky that you don't have those capabilities. On the other hand, the latter theories are divided into 2 categories. One is behavioral theories, where this theory focuses on relationship between leadership behaviors and the group performance. And other category, contemporary categories, emphasizes significance of situational leadership factors like stress level, the situation where the leadership decisions are being taken, leaders' intelligence, the followers' traits and expectations, etc. Depends on number of factors and situations. So it is the leader's efficiency to either combine these theories to make an effective strategy or a style of leadership. And again, from these theories, we observe that there are some leadership styles are also emerging from these theories, like autocratic leadership style, the laissez-faire leadership style, democratic or participative leadership style, and bureaucratic leadership style. Other 3 are actually denoted by their name. So I want to just give some light on laissez-faire leadership style. This style actually trusts that their employees and team need to perform their job themselves. So they give this style gives the autonomy to the teams to take their actions, to take their decisions. And if it is applied, then actually their motivation level increases. So this is a different style as used by some of the leaders. So which style actually to be used, or which theories to be practiced, it is not important. The important thing is that from all these theories and all these styles, we are able to identify the qualities that a successful leader should have, like vision. Vision is the first thing actually that actually drives the leader and the whole team. So this is very important that leader should have the vision. He should have intelligence, should have the communicative skills so that he can communicate effectively. Leader should be objective. That is, he should be fair or should have fair outlook, which is free from bias, and he should also base his judgment based on facts and logic. Leader should be also knowledgeable about the subject. He should have the sense of responsibility and accountability, should have the confidence and willpower. And another aspect is that leader should be humanities. He should take into consideration the personal problems of his followers. Otherwise, if he only drives for the results without looking at their personal needs, so that will not facilitate relationship between the leaders and the followers. So empathy is also like same. Leader should put himself in the shoes of his followers so that he can understand their complaints, their problems in their work areas, so that he is in a better position to understand those and to address those. Appearance is not only physical appearance, rather I would say behavioral and ethical appearance is very important. What are the competences that leaders should have? It has been extracted from a study by Sunil Giles. Actually, he studied 195 global leaders over 74 qualities to rank them, which are most important. And the result come up as, you see, the ethics and safety comes first, and then self-organizing, meaning leader should be self-organizing in addition to organizing his team. And also he should be efficient learner. He should open the door. He should be able to update himself on a continuous basis because of the changes in the scenarios. And also he should maintain connection and belongingness with the stakeholders, his followers and the external stakeholders, even with the society, with the community, and with the global environment. So what actually leaders function? What they do they? The leader sets the vision, that is, leaders devise a purpose, a cause that is rewarding to the group. Not only that, only setting a vision is not enough. He needs to motivate the followers. He should be self-motivated and also motivate his followers. He should initiate actions. He should provide the planning so that the actions can be taken in a right direction towards the vision. And he should provide guidance, clarifying the expectations and instructions to his followers. And also at the time of need, he also should provide coaching to the followers. And another important aspect function is leaders create confidence. How he does that? Expressing the work efforts to the followers, explaining clearly their role and giving them guidelines. Because if a follower understands his role, he understands what is expected from him, and he understands what reward or motivation he will get out of him. So he will be in a better position. That will give him a confidence level. And building morale is another function of leader, and that is actually achieved through building trust and also giving support to the followers. Building work environment is also important for a leadership function, and coordination is a must. If all the followers work, but they doesn't work in a being in sync towards the goal, then actually the result will not be achieved, or even if it achieved, it will take more time. So in this slide, I just gave the relationship between the leadership and management function and the differences. So these are almost covered in earlier discussions, some of those issues. Like managers lay down the structure and delegates authority and responsibility. But leaders' main function is a direction functions, because leader actually deals with listening, building relationships, teamwork, inspiring, motivating, and persuading the followers. That is more on people aspect. On the other hand, management functions actually focuses on nuts and bolts like planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. So there should be, now what is the difference between authority and leadership? Authority, we understand, comes from legitimate power built on formal position, but leadership is informal power. It is achieved through the respect, the trust and confidence that leader gain through his integrity, expertise, and judgment. So formal authority actually always might not be able to influence people in the desired manner, but leadership, which actually creates the follower to work willingly. So that actually creates everlasting performance of the followers. In authority, actually, followers are not given adequate opportunity to provide feedback, constructive criticism, or opinions, and then also their inputs are, they not get the opportunity for sharing and involving, being involved, being shared, being engaged in the decision-making process in the important aspects. So there is less opportunity in case of authority, but leadership actually facilitates all these. So ultimately leadership facilitates, empowers the followers, and that result in a greater output. To understand what is power, actually power, we understand it is not a force that will actually help us get what we actually want, but power emanates from a position. It can be formal position, formal authority, or power is also achieved through influence, which actually helps decision-making and influence people's transactions. Powers can be categorized like coercive power, which uses threat, reward power, which uses actually rewards, that rewards may be economical rewards or non-economic rewards. Power may be legitimate power. Actually, legitimate power comes from an official position. Since it is an official position, it is short-lived because it actually are related with the position. And the scope of legitimate power is also limited as it is defined by the position. Expert power is something like personal power, which actually comes from knowledge, skills, and expertise possessed by an individual. So this is a power of high quality and not easily available to us, always to everybody. Since this is personal specific and expertise can be achieved over time, so this is a long-lasting power. And last one is referent power, which is actually wielded by celebrities. They exert lasting influence on a large number of people for a large number of decisions. So even they can they can affect your buy decisions. The best thing is to actually understand the followers, understand the situation, and then actually devise which power has to be applied for successful result. Vision, this is actually most important thing of leadership. True leaders have a vision. What is a vision? A vision is a dream, a purpose, that is a cause actually, which has to be big enough so that it not only motivate the leader, but also motivate and engage his followers' actions, behavior, energy, and resources in a constructive way towards the vision. So only having the vision is not enough. Having the, to achieve the vision, actualize the vision, the leader should be hardworking. He should pay attention to detail. He should combine both big picture thinking with nut and bolt execution. All this should be in a concerted way, because if he has only vision, that is not enough. If he become only hardworking in isolation, that is not enough. If he knows the big picture, that is also not enough. So all the functions combining these three are very important. Initiate the vision, sustaining the momentum of the vision, and carrying through the implementation of the vision. The vision should have the characteristics like, as I mentioned, rational. It should be rational. It should be reasonable, innovative, credible, clear, motivating, and stimulating, challenging, and also reflective of organizational beliefs, values, and culture. And that has to be concrete. So what is the relationship between motivation and leadership? Motivation, we understand the will to succeed. the desire to do well. So that is actually result with goal achievement. And it pushes the followers to work hard to achieve the goals. So for motivation being successful, there are some guidelines for the leader, because the leader need to motivate in a manner that actually brought in results, like harmonize and match the subordinate needs with the organizational needs. If subordinate needs are not addressed properly, they will not be motivated. Likewise, appreciation and rewards are also important for their motivation. And leader should be also a role model in terms of his character, his capability, and his vision. And in that case, that will actually motivation the follower to be a leader in future. So that is also important. Encouraging individuals to get involved in planning and important issues are also important. They will feel the sense of engagement, and that will help them to cooperate and deliver in a better way. And developing moral and productive team is also motivational for the followers. Promoting empathy is another issue. I will explain the term empathy later on. And meaningful and challenging job offer is also important. If the followers understand that their job is meaningful and challenging, then accomplishing those jobs gives them a sense of satisfaction, which ultimately motivate them. So there are actually two types of motivation: intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is the will to succeed by changing oneself from within. That is actually self-motivation. On the other hand, extrinsic motivation is performance that is actually driven by external rewards like a position, an increment, etc. So leaders have to be self-motivated. They should have the strong urge to succeed in a cause, in a purpose, in a dream. If they are not self-motivated, how they will motivate others? So that is important for leaders. And then he can get the external rewards. And like that, followers also need to be intrinsically motivated, and they also then facilitate by extrinsic rewards as well. Because if they are not intrinsically motivated, then it will be difficult to sustain that motivation level for a long-lasting effect. And how that can be initiated? If we go through the need hierarchy model of motivation, by Maslow, we can see that when basic needs are satisfied, then actually people want to go for higher purpose. So by doing that, by addressing that self-esteem or self-actualization level of the followers, leaders can develop intrinsic motivation for the followers. Emotional intelligence is another important aspect of leadership. Emotional intelligence is the actually ability to understand own awareness, manage own awareness, understand the awareness of the society, people at society, people around them, and also manage their and also achieve the skills to manage the relationship with the people around. So this is a very important trait for the leadership. As Daniel Goleman mentioned, 80 to 90% of the competencies that differentiate top performers are in the domain of emotional intelligence. So why emotional intelligence is important? Because by building relationship that promotes trust, that engages employee morale, followers morale, and gradually that creates a working environment where actually each other helps together towards the goal. So that is the main thing, and that is why actually it is very contributing in leadership study. So we have talked about empathy. Actually, empathy has some differences with the compassion. Today in leadership, compassion is getting more popularity because empathy is the capacity to share the feelings of others. But compassion not only related to share the feelings, but it actually also feel compelled to alleviate their suffering. So compassion is also related with emotional reactions. Only just understanding others or feeling others' problem is not enough. Leaders should also take actions to alleviate those problems or those limitations of their followers. Another important aspects in leadership is ethics, leadership ethics. Why ethics is important? Ethics is basically, we know, desirable and appropriate values and morals, which basically deals with the purity of individuals and their intentions. Ethics gives the guideline for analyzing what is good or bad. So leaders should have the ethics. Otherwise, we will not be able to promote trust, confidence, and respect from the followers. If the leader doesn't have the ethics, followers will not follow him. So there are actually strategies for building ethics or developing ethics or communicating ethics towards the followers. Trust is another thing which actually bonds together the leaders and followers in a concerted manner. So leaders actually take the charge to develop trust between leader and the followers. What are the components of trust? That is, the leader should be true and honest to his words and actions. The leader should have the competence, because if the leader should not have the competence, then the reliability of the followers will not be on him, because they will think that he will not be able to deliver. Commitment is also important. If leader doesn't show the commitment, so that will reduce the trust of the followers. Likewise, reliability is also an important part of trust. And leader should be open to all the followers. He should be accessible. He should frequently share with the followers, sit with the followers. And most importantly, he should be fair. He should treat his followers in an unbiased way. He should be based his decisions based on actually facts and judgment. So all these things actually promotes building trust between the leaders and followers. And once trust is developed, then actually the deliverables becomes easier. Communication actually is everywhere. The importance of communications lies with effective communication. To make the communication effective, it is very important to align followers with shared vision and provide clear direction and expectations, and also enhance relationship, collaboration, and teamwork for effective communication. Trust and empathy is also important in effective communications. Engagement and commitment is also important. Stimulated motivations towards the purpose is also important for communications. And communications also reduce the ambiguity and stress level of followers. So it also improves the productivity. I just want to share a comment made by John C. Maxwell. He said, "I am convinced more than ever that good communication and leadership are all about connecting." So the effective communications lies in building connectivity. If you can connect with others at every level, one-on-one in groups and with an audience, your relationship are stronger, your sense of community improves, your ability to create teamwork increases, your influence also increases, and productivity skyrockets. So there is a session later on persuasive communication. So I hope you will get better insight there. Leadership mindset also important in leadership practice. Mindset can be of two types: scarcity mindset and also abundant mindsets. Scarcity mindset leaders actually, they focuses on scarcity of resources. They treat leadership in terms of shortages, savings, keeping resources to themselves, and mentality of them is to promote individual self-interest over collective good. On the other hand, abundant mindset believes that since with the advancement of technology, it is possible that resources are not scarce. So they actually believe in that mindset, that opportunities are potential and opportunities are enormous if we can take in technology to support us. So their mindset is like that. What are the challenges for leadership in 21st centuries? In addition to regular challenges, a regular aspect of leadership that I mentioned earlier, 21st century leadership challenges are more. We understand that 21st century is extremely competitive, and this is ever connected, fast changing world means that leaders have extraordinary demands placed upon them. So, but that doesn't mean that they will take shortcuts to success or they will sacrifice their ethics and principles to profits. If we take the example of last global financial crisis, what we can see? Actually, the business leaders in banks and financial institutions, they actually sacrificed their inner voice. They were attracted by extrinsic reward, extrinsic motivation, and which pushed them to ignore their beliefs, their morals, their principles. So ultimately, what we observed that total financial sector suffered. So the message here is that we all are in a boat. We all are in a boat. Either we swim together or we sink together. So we actually give due importance on our values, our principle, our ethics, in addition to our profit. So that is a challenge for 21st century leaders. And another challenge for 21st century leader is sustainability of the environment. As I mentioned earlier, that protecting the planet is very important for our long-term survival, for our future generation, for our generations over time or from time to time. If we cannot take care of our planet in our business activities, in our actions, then it will be difficult to maintain sustainability of our planet, protect our planet. So leaders also should keep that in mind while taking their decisions, while playing their role, while directing their resources. They should take care, should put due consideration of the planet, of the society, of all the stakeholders. Network thinking, this is actually related with the 21st century. As we understand, with the boom of internet and social media, the globe is well connected. An event happened in a part of a globe, within a second transmitted to the other part of the globe. So frequently leaders are being bombarded with so much information. So it is difficult for them to think in the traditional top-down or bottom-up fashion in making decisions. They actually need to be aware of total scenario. They need to be updated on a daily basis. They need to update it even on every minute, every seconds, what is happening in the globe in taking their decisions. And they also should have the mind to change their mindset. If they cannot update themselves time to time, if they cannot take the signals arising out of different parts of the world, it will be difficult for them for survive. Take the cases of some global leading industries like car renting industries. Think about Uber. Just with an application, with an app, with a sharing app, ride-sharing app, they almost send all the car service providers at home. So this is what actually happening. They have to be focused on what is happening over the globe, even though they do business locally, but that has may be impacted by a global development. So they needs to be updated about all these things. But it is difficult to manage so many information at a time. So what they should do, they should act as a translator. What is that? Actually, they should focus on significant changes. They should be aware of everything, but they should focus on significant changes, the tectonic shifts in their business premises, in their leadership premises, whether that is aligned with his purpose, whether that is aligned with his organizational purpose, whether that is aligned with the purpose of his followers. So leaders should scan the environment, should scan the information, but that should be strategically in sync with his organizational and his vision and action. And another thing is that in 21st century, leaders frequently faces contradictory situations like they need to increase productivity, they need to cut cost. At the same time, to be updated, they need to invest in innovation. We can take the example of 3M. 3M introduced Six Sigma practices for productivity boosting. But what happened with the practice of that, when they focused mostly on Six Sigma practices, revenue from their innovation lines started to fall. So leaders' leaders' effectiveness lies in that he actually blends the productivity improvement efforts, the cost-cutting efforts with that of innovation, so that he should maintain a successful balance, that he should not lose the future potential only focusing on the present strategies or short-term objectives. Leadership in the face of chaos. Actually, 21st century is characterized, as I discussed, with increasing complexity, disorder, intense competition, hyper-speed, space of change, and above all, a 24-hour and by 7-hour always-on culture. So they are actually dealing with so many information, so many situations, so many people of different diversity of population. So it is difficult for them to keep pace with those chaos. So in that case, they should take the strategy, gen-like strategy. I mean, they should not swayed by the information. They should be focused on the relevant changes. And only doing that, they can navigate their ship towards the vision and toward their mission. But that has to be, that vision and mission has to be updated on a continuous basis. Only keeping the vision fixed is not actually workable in today's 21st century, because things are actually changing. So if the leader is unable to modify his vision, to modify his mindset, to modify his action, it will be difficult for him to navigate through the changes, through the chaos. So in doing so, actually, nervous factors is a very important aspect for leaders. They should have a strong nervous system so that they are not actually frightened by this information chaos. Leadership in the face of adversity. Actually, adversity, some leaders actually do very well in adverse situation. If we take the case of like Steve Jobs, when Apple, Steve Jobs once started actually Apple. At one time he left Apple, and when Apple started to fall, they again called Steve Jobs, because he has the capacity to be successful in adverse situation. In fact, in adverse situation, leaders who has a strong willpower, who have a strong confidence on them that they can turn around the adversity, they are actually successful. So there are leaders of that time who do better in adversity. If we talk about leadership in the digital age, actually in digital age, the most important thing is that agile methodology. The leader should be agile. The methods, the work environment, work processes, everything should be agile. That should be flexible so that that can be adjusted with changes of information, changes of scenario, changes of situation. And in doing so, actually, there is no chance for leaders to sit back and work on the earlier work strategy, earlier vision, earlier path. They need to modify those in order to get on the right path. And this is actually a study from World Economic Forum. World Economic Forum surveyed leaders of and they have come out what are the competence, what are the skills that are very important for not only leaders in 21st century and also in future, but also important for the followers. Those are analytical thinking and innovations, active learning and learning strategies, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, originality and initiative, leadership and social influence, technology use, monitoring and control, technology design and programming, resilience, stress tolerance and flexibility, reasoning, problem solving and ideation. So these types all these types are categorized into 4 parts, that is problem solving, self-management, working with people, and also technology use and development. Now, from the discussions that I have covered so far, I have tried to identify for youth, young generations, what steps they should take to improvise their leadership capacity. And these are the steps. Actually, it has been written as 6. In fact, it will be 7. The first one is create an unified and shared vision. This is the starting point. So this actually guides the total population, guides the total team. And then second step is develop good relationship with the followers. And then create a culture of collaboration. Collaboration not only between leaders and the followers, but collaboration with also all the stakeholders, locally and globally, so that the collaborations become easier comparing to the time, changes, and frequency, complexity, and ambiguity. The next step is empower the teams for performance excellence. Actually, in today's world, so many information, leaders need to deal with so many information. So it is very difficult for them to address all the areas of leadership alone. In that case, top leaders should also develop next layer's leadership, so that leadership activities also can be delegated. What they should do, they should actually give the broad guidelines. They should take care of the total change. They should monitor the changes, and they should empower their teams with good leaders, with future leaders, so that at any point of time, they don't lack the leadership team. The next one is to become cognizant of changes, as I have discussed. So change is the only reality. So leaders should take care of changes as well. And resilience capacity is also very important to development. So leaders should take the capacity, absorb the shock of changes, and not lose their confidence, and not lose their moral, so that their supporters, their followers also lose their confidence. And the last one is surround leaders with the people who are either better than them or smarter than them. As rightly said by Jack Ma, he mentioned that he suggested leaders to surround them with people who are actually better and smarter than them. Only then you can ensure the sustainability of your business, of your organization, of your purpose, of your vision. So that is all from my part. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. I would like to thank Safa for organizing this presentation, and also facilitating this training for all the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your brilliant presentation and for putting an insight into the youth leadership. We and our students are very much obliged to have you as the speaker on this platform, where we got the opportunity to hear you, as you have inculcated the spirit into the youth for their leadership skills. Thank you, sir. Sir, there is a small request from our audience. They are requesting you to share your presentation for future benefits of the youth. Is that fine, sir?
Okay.
Okay. Sir, additionally, we have received questions from the students. There are two questions which I would like to present on behalf of the students to you. The first question goes as, how Safa and its member bodies can play an effective role in addressing the challenges being faced by youth related to issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. May I please request you for an answer, sir?
Sure. Actually, if we think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that actually involves the total globe. That involves global citizens. So Safa and the accounting professional bodies actually should come forward as a part of global ecosystem for diversity, equity, and inclusion development. In doing so, what Safa can do? I think that if Safa can work not only with the business community, but also Safa can work with the states, governments, and also the organization like United Nations. So that can actually effectively involve Safa in this process of global diversity towards global diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this is actually inclusive. This has to be treated like an ecosystem where accounting professional organizations like Safa will be also a part. So what they can contribute? Actually, accounting organization have the expertise in certain areas, but whatever the areas they excel in, so they can contribute on those areas, and which ultimately actually help the total ecosystem towards diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so actually they can also engage in training and development, cross-functional training and development organized in association with United Nations, in association with the governments, in association with the business communications, to understand, to give insight the accounting professionals and students the insights on global business dynamics, global political dynamics, global environmental dynamics, global inclusiveness. So that will actually facilitate Safa to contribute.
Thank you so much, sir. May we pass on to the next question, please? The second question is, what is your suggestions to the youth for developing leadership skills?
In fact, in my presentation, I have shared some slides where actually the development strategies have been explained. So going to the question once again, I would like to share that developing leadership skills that can be facilitated as depicted in various models shared in my presentation. One model has been proposed by New York City. New York City, they have proposed a share for youth development. So actually they are focusing on youth's participation mostly on community building, mostly on social development goals, mostly on protecting the planet, mostly on reducing poverty alleviation, on ensuring safety and health for a population, and also ensuring education for all. So if I want to focus on youth leadership, since they will have to ensure the global sustainability for their future, for making their future, whether they are in business community, whether they will be engaged in business leadership or political leadership or environmental leadership or social leadership, they actually consider all those issues as I have explained in my presentation. Since I will be sharing the presentations, I expect that they will get a further insight from those presentations.
Excellent, sir. Very thankful to you for consenting to give us the presentation. We will share the same with our students. Thank you so much, sir.
Most welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I please welcome Ms. Mansi Agarwal on the platform? May I please welcome Ms. Mansi Agarwal on the platform? To start off with her introduction, I must say that she's an international corporate trainer and transformational speaker. She has over 11 years of experience in training students and professionals, which offers a wide range of variety of clients with 12 reputed organizations, national banks, insurance companies, and NGOs. She has got many motivational speeches in her bag, including the Nepalese Young Entrepreneurs Forum, Youth Empowerment Seminar for Women, Ward Wings, and certain embassies programs too. She's a resource person of ICAI Nepal and has provided training on various programs, including general management and communication skills. She's a visual storyteller too for the Nepal Tourism Board and is the curator of Women Entrepreneurship Program. She was a mentor and advisor. And has spoken at organizations like Zonta and participated in the youth panel discussion series. To add to the jewels in her crown, I must mention that she is the charter president of Himalaya Toastmasters Club and has won the Distinguished Toastmaster accolade. With a hearty gratitude, we welcome you, ma'am, to the platform for your brilliant words of address for the students. Please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's really, really nice that you chose to speak so highly of me. Thank you so much. I'm really glad actually to be here today, because when I was approached by the Nepal Association, the ICAI in Nepal, they told me that this program was happening, and I was extremely proud, because I'm so glad that you all as an organization have understood the importance of communication skills. You see, in my experience of over 13 years now, I have been training people from all walks of life, from CEOs to businessmen to people who are models, to Miss Nepals, to celebrities, to sports people, to bankers. And I realized that communication really is the secret sauce. You could have a lot of technical skills, but without an understanding of communication skills, all of those technical skills really do not add up. So I'm really glad here to be with all the students of Safa for the next 1 hour and to talk about persuasive communication. Now, here's a quick question. Ma'am, will the students be able to chat with me? Will they be able to send me questions on the chat, or will they be able to respond to me on the chat?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, great. So can we just open the chat room for students? Because I'm a speaker and I love interacting with people. I would love to have a conversation with them. So I will be sharing a lot of different ideas on how you can become a better persuasive speaker, but I don't want to have a presentation at all. I want to speak to the students. I want it to be two-way communication. So if you would just kindly make the chat box available to the students so they can put in their chat messages. It's okay if I'm the only one who can see the chats. That's not a problem at all.
Yeah, ma'am, I just want to inform you that we have enabled that thing with the students. They will be providing their questions and we will be picking it up for you to answer. Will that be fine, madam?
Okay, that's going to be fine. I was actually hoping to get feedback from them continuously, because I asked them questions in yes and no. If that's possible, it's okay. Otherwise, we can go on ahead. No problem at all.
We will look into that also, ma'am. If we get something on a spontaneous manner, we will be putting it to you on the screen.
Okay, no problem at all.
Is that okay?
Thank you. Don't worry about it. Okay,
please.
So on that note, I'm going to start, right? So here's the point. What exactly is communication? Communication is when there are two parties involved. One party wants to give a message and the other party has to receive the message, understand it, process it, and then give the feedback. That is a basic, typical communication cycle. Today, we're not going to talk about any normal form of communication. We're talking about a very specific form of communication, which is called persuasive communication. So what exactly is persuasive communication? Persuasive communication is when I, as a speaker, am trying to convince the other party. So no matter who the other party is, I'm trying to convince the other party to agree on something, to agree on a certain point of view. And persuasive communication really has many forms. You know, we see advertisements on TV. They are persuasive communication. Let's say you have a boss and you go and you ask them for a salary raise while you're trying to persuade them. Let's say you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and you are going to tell them which restaurant we have to go to today for dinner. That also is a form of persuasive communication. So persuasive communication is a great skill. And if you can slowly learn to master this skill, you will find yourself communicating more strongly and getting people to agree with you in many more cases. Today, as I start this entire presentation, I'm going to break it up into 4 parts. Part number 1, the mindset. What should this mindset be before you go in for any persuasive communication? So part number 1 is mindset. Number 2, preparation. How exactly do you prepare for any kind of persuasive communication? Number 3, what do you say? So when you want to persuade somebody, whether it's people in the audience, whether it's your friend, whether it's anybody else, what exactly do you say? And number 4, how do you say it? So I'm going to break up my presentation into 4 parts. I would genuinely request the students to take down notes whenever they feel something important has come up that they really need to remember, because I'm truly going to be littering my entire presentation with lots of small tips that you can start using practically tonight itself. You don't need any kind of extra practice. Tonight itself, you can start using all these skills if you just know how to do them. So let's start. Number 1, mindset. Before you go in to persuade anybody to do anything, you have to be clear about 3 things. Number 1, what is the main takeaway that you want them to have. So let's say I want to go and I want to tell my organization to buy this bottle because this bottle is going to help me do my work. When I go in for this conversation, when I go in for the meeting, I must be extremely clear in my head what is the one or maximum two takeaways that I want at the end of this conversation. This is really important because very often what happens is when we try to go and persuade people, we put in all the facts, we put in all the different things, and we try to say a lot of stuff, which then confuses the other person, and they'll never be able to pick out the important information from that, and they'll never be able to use only the important information, which is why before you go in for any scenario where you have to speak persuasively, it's extremely important that you know what the takeaway, the one or the two main takeaways of that conversation will have to be. That's number one of mindset. Number two in the mindset, before you go in for any persuasive situation, you have to understand them. You know, I train a lot of people. I train people from all walks of life, from entrepreneurs to people who are working in Facebook and Deloitte and beauty pageant winners, celebrities, Miss Nepals, politicians, and all sorts of people. And very often when we communicate, we feel it's about us. You know, we are powerful, we are holding a mic, we're standing on stage, and we are the important ones. But here is the mistake we tend to make. We are never as important as the listener. If my speech or if my communication will not keep the listener in mind, no matter how good my message is, it's going to be lost. For example, today I know that here we have candidates from at least 4 different countries. Now imagine if I started suddenly speaking in French, and French is not a language that is spoken in any of these countries. My communication would not be complete no matter how good my content was. So the most important thing that you remember when you are planning your speech or when you're planning your conversation, even before you go into speaking, when you are thinking of the mindset, the first point, of course, is what should the takeaway be? The next point, very, very important, is understand your audience. Who are you talking to? What is the demographic? What is the background? What language would they be comfortable in? If I'm talking to my 7-year-old son and I want to tell him mom needs a break today, I'm probably going to have to convince him in a very different way than if I was talking to people within my office. So what we need to understand is communication is never about us. It's never about the speaker, especially in case of a persuasive communication. You always need to think about the audience members. You always need to think about what are they thinking. How are they going to come into this meeting? Will they be against my idea? Are they going to be hostile? Are they likely to be very for my idea? Which language do they understand? Do they understand Hindi, Urdu, Tamil, Nepali, French, German? What language do they understand? Would they feel more comfortable if I speak in Bengali? Would they feel more comfortable if I spoke in Japanese? What exactly will they understand? Another thing, what kind of people are they? Are they from the same background as me? Is it okay for me to use technical words? Is it not okay for me to use technical words? What is the age group? What is the educational background? If you understand your audience member, or if you understand the person you're communicating with properly, what really happens is you have a very good understanding of how you can modify your message, how you can make your message relevant and appropriate so that they are able to understand you better. So part 2 in mindset is understand them. Part 3 in mindset. Now, before I come to exactly what this point is, I'm going to tell you this. Human beings evolved from apes, okay? And I do understand that a lot of you here may not understand biology, neither do I, but there's just one little thing I want to tell you. Our brains have many parts, but if you categorize them in two parts, there are two basic parts. One is the limbic brain, which is the part inside. It's the lower brain or the limbic brain. And there's the second part on top, which is called the neofrontal cortex. Now, the limbic brain is what we directly inherited from our monkey ancestors. And the neofrontal cortex is what makes us human. That is what makes us Homo sapiens. This is intelligence. This is emotion. This is fear, this is thirst, this is hunger. This is all the basic things that keep us alive. And this is analysis, ideas, thoughts, intelligence, language, communication, all of those things that differentiate us from monkeys. Now, here is the crazy part. We feel we're educated. We feel we're smart. We feel we are analytical. We feel our neofrontal cortex is the one that's active all the time. But the truth is, most often, people base their decisions on their limbic brain. They have a gut feeling. They have an emotion. They have a thought. They just don't have faith on numbers for whatever reasons. Many times people also base their opinions, base their suggestions on the limbic brain or the monkey brain. If you remember this third part, you will then understand when I tell you about how to prepare for a persuasive communication session. So let me repeat. First, mindset. Mindset has three parts. Number one, most importantly, what is your takeaway? What is it that you want people to remember after this communication cycle is over? Number two, what is the profile or the demographic profiling of the audience? Understand the audience. Who are they? What do you know about them? And number three, remember, you have two parts in the brain, the limbic brain or the monkey brain, the neofrontal cortex or the human brain. A lot of people still think from their limbic brain, and this brain has more power to influence and impact our beliefs and our actions than we actually believe. Okay? Understanding these 3 points of the mindset, let's go forward. Why do I always start with mindset? I believe any communication, if I just tell you something superficial, you will not be able to implement it. But if you understand the mindset, it's going to come from within you and it's going to ooze out and you will be able to communicate better. Now that we've understood the mindset, let's now quickly go to how do you prepare for any communication which is persuasive in nature? How do you prepare yourself? What are the preparations that you have to do? Now, let me tell you this. I know you know this because all of you are chartered accountants. You understand the importance of preparation before your exams, right? Before your articleship, when you're going to write your exams and all of that. Let me tell you, as a communications coach and a corporate trainer, communication also requires preparation. Sometimes people believe, oh, you know what? I can speak English, I can speak French, I can speak Bengali, whatever it is. That's not enough. You must know how to speak. You must prepare before you go and speak. Before I speak to you here today, I've prepared a lot. And I think communication requires preparation if you want to hit the nail on the head and if you want to impact the minds of the other people. So here is what my next thing is going to be. For you to make a convincing, persuasive communication, you need to prepare. There are 3 methods of preparation, or there are 3 things that you need to prepare depending on the situation. Let's start. Preparation tip number 1. Think about ethos. What is ethos? I'm going to tell you in just a second. Think about ethos. I'm going to write that word on a piece of paper so you can take it down if you want to. E-T-H-O-S, ethos. Think about ethos. What is ethos? Ethos is your credibility. Ethos is who you are. Ethos is your brand. Before you go into any communication scenario, it's very important for you to understand what is your credibility, what is your brand, who are you, who do people know you as? For example, I am not a chartered accountant, not at all. I've never studied accounts in my life. Today, if somebody at Safa tells me, Mansi, why don't you go and you teach all our students about accountancy? I'm going to go into the classroom and I'm going to look like an idiot because I know nothing at all. That is not who I am. That is not my brand. And within a minute of talking to me, each one of you will be able to understand that. On the other hand, If you tell me, Mansi, give an impromptu speech on public speaking, how can our students become the best public speakers? How can they appear for the best interviews? How do our students have to handle the media and all of that? I know I can do it because that is the brand I've created. That is the skill I have. That is who I am. That is an area where I have a lot of career capital or a lot of credibility. So the first thing you need to do if you want to actually prepare well is create your credibility. Think about the ethos. Think about who you are. Now, this is not something that's going to happen in one day. Your credibility has to be something that you gain over the years. Your brand is something that you make over the years. But think about this. The stronger your brand, the more persuasive you are. The more value you bring to the table, the more experienced you are, the more skilled you are, the more the chances that you will be able to persuade people. That's number one. The second method of preparation would be pathos or pathos, depending on where you are from. The second method is pathos, P-A-T-H-O-S. What does pathos or pathos mean? It means appealing to the emotions of a person. So let's say I want to convince my son that today I need a break and he should not disturb me all day long. If I give him a lot of figures and a lot of numbers about why I need a break, he may not agree with me. He's 7 years old. It's not going to make any difference to him. On the other hand, if I tell my child a story about how tired his mama is, about how mama really, really needs a break because she's worked 6.5 days this week, maybe my son is going to be emotionally connected to the story and he might understand. So the second day's preparation method is pathos, which means look for stories, look for anecdotal proof, look for stories, try and convince your audience members using stories. For example, if I wanted to persuade my audience members to not smoke, okay. And if I thought that in my audience, there was a group of young children, young students who were smoking, I might want to give them data and facts about smoking and how it's bad. But on the other hand, if I made a painful looking advertisement showing a young child who had developed cancer because of excessive smoking, maybe that advertisement would appeal to the limbic brain, to the emotions of that child, and that child would give up. This is a classic case of pathos, which means when you're appealing to the limbic brain or to emotions of a person, sharing stories, sharing anecdotes. When I go in for any persuasive communication scenario, I always remember stories and connecting with the emotions of the other person is a great way really to get them on board, to get them to understand, to get them connected, to engage with them so that they then start believing, start understanding, and start thinking from their limbic brain, which is their lower brain, which then controls their decisions. Okay, so the next step of preparation, think of stories, come up with incidents, come up with anecdotes that you can use. Number 3, the third thing that you need to prepare when you are preparing for any persuasive scenario or any persuasive speech is this: logos. Logos. It doesn't mean a brand logo like a logo for a Nike or something. A logo in this case would be come up with technical or factual data. This means numbers, this means figures, this means proof, this means scientific theories, this means all the various kinds of data which appeals to the human brain or to the neofrontal cortex, okay? So when I talk about logos, I basically mean you are going to get research-based evidence, you're going to get data, you're going to get numbers. Let's say instead of my son, I want to convince my boss that I need a break. What am I going to do? I'm not going to say, sir, I'm really sad, I'm really tired, I need a break. No. He may agree, but on the other hand, if I say this, do you know that if people work 6.5 hours a week, 6.5 days a week, their efficiency might lag? Do you know that there's so much research saying that you need 1.5 to 2 days of rest every week if you want to be recharged and if you want your creativity to work in the right way. And because I'm a creative professional, I think maybe you should give me breaks so that I can prepare better. Now, what exactly am I doing here? I am appealing not to his limbic brain, but I understood my audience well. I understood the demographic. I understood who I'm talking to. And now what I'm doing is I am appealing to the logical mind. I am appealing to the human mind by giving him numbers and data and facts. So this is how you prepare. Before you get into any scenario where you have to persuade people, it's extremely important for you to understand that number one, you have built up your own credibility. Number two, you have got anecdotal evidence, or you know stories which are going to connect emotionally to your audience, which are going to make them act or think in a certain way. And number three, extremely important, you have data and numbers and figures and proof to prove whatever it is that you're trying to say. Let's say if I'm speaking to a group of students about smoking, yes, it would be nice if I connected to them emotionally, if I showed them the problems, and if I told them how sad their mother would feel if they had to go through any kind of disease. I connected to their emotions. Yet after that, if I also told them, do you know one thing? Students or children who start smoking at an early age live much shorter. On average, they have 7 years less of lifespan. Immediately, this data also, after a story, would then have a great impact on them. So when you go in for any persuasive conversation where you are trying to persuade the other people, you have to have 3 kinds of preparation. Number one, always have a great credibility. People should know who you are and what you're great at. Number two, have stories to support what you're trying to say because they connect. And number three, very important, have numbers and facts and data. Now, sometimes stories are going to be your line of action. Sometimes you're going to use stories to convince, stories to connect, stories to communicate, depending on the audience. And sometimes you're going to use numbers and facts and data and technical information, depending on the audience. However, most of the times it is a combination of the two, depending on the scenario. I'm going to leave it to your judgment, but please remember, before you go in for any persuasive scenario, have a combination of both of them ready with you as tools in your toolkit that you can use as and when required. Okay, so we've understood mindset. When we were talking about mindset, we spoke number one about having proper takeaways. Number two, understanding the audience. Number three, understanding the limbic brain and the neofrontal cortex. After that, I spoke to you about preparation. I said you should have 3 things. Number one, ethos, which means your own credibility, who you are as a speaker. If you are the principal, chances are people will listen to you more than if you are just a regular student. So your credibility, who you are, you have to build this up over the years. Number two, you have to have stories and anecdotal evidence. And number three, you are going to have logos, which means technical information or data that is going to help convince people. Okay, now, after you actually go into the scenario and after you've prepared and now you're actually going in to speak, how are you going to do that? There are a couple of things that you do and a couple of things that you don't. To do, number one, I want all students to quickly take down these points as notes because they're really, really important. Number one, establish your credibility. This is extremely important. Not everyone always knows who you are. Not every time will you have somebody introducing you, which means it's extremely important for you to be able to go out there and tell people who you are. What is the value you bring to the table? What are your skills? What are your experiences that you bring to the table that make you the right person to be delivering this conversation or to be having this conversation? For example, if I was a medical doctor, and if I was telling you all about the problems with smoking or the problems with doing drugs or whatever it is, you would trust me more than if I just went in and you had no idea that I was a medical doctor and I started speaking. The moment I told you, you know what? I've been a doctor for the last 26 years and I have treated over 2,000 patients who've suffered from drug addiction or whatever, you would immediately start trusting me more. So the first thing that you need to do as you're going to speak is you must establish your credibility. There are many ways of doing it. One of them would just be, I really enjoy having these conversations with people because of the last 17 years, I've helped people work on their skills. Or as I did when I came in here, I started this entire talk by establishing my credibility. I said for the last 13 years, I've been working with professionals at all levels, helping them understand their various communication skills, their storytelling skills, their public speaking skills, their persuasive communication skills. So what did I do? I established my credibility. I made you feel, maybe we should listen to her. Maybe what she's going to say will add some value to our lives. And that is what you need to do at the very onset. Number one, establish credibility. Number two, explain the context. Explain why this conversation is important. It's extremely important to do that. You know, very often we just go in and we just start speaking based on what we have prepared, on what we want to share. However, until and unless you can explain to the other person why listening to this conversation is important for them, they will not be interested in listening to you. So it's very important to be able to explain the context. When I came here today, remember I said, I'm really glad that Safa has decided to do this because I truly believe that communication is the secret sauce. It is what helps you stand out in whatever profession, whatever career you choose. So the next thing you must remember is this. Always remember, explain the context. Why is it important for me to be listening to you? Explain it. If you want to tell somebody about smoking and the problems with smoking, what you could say is, you know what? Today I'm going to tell you something that could potentially change your life and help you save 10,000 rupees or dollars or whatever currency you have in the long run. Immediately, this person is interested. I don't mind saving $10,000 every year. So that's what you have to do. You have to think about how you are going to establish the context and make them feel that they should be listening to you because this is a great conversation for them to have. Okay. So number two with how to speak is establish the context. Number three, use a simple formula, which is called the PREP formula. Now, PREP, that's the formula. This is a very simple formula that really helps you use any kind of persuasive conversation and make it much more impactful. Sometimes when I ask people, you know, let's say I want to tell somebody to not smoking. I could do it like this. I could say, you know, you should not smoke. Smoking is not good for you. Yeah, you should not smoke. Yeah, it's not good at all. I mean, what? It's not good. Don't smoke. That's one way of saying it. That's one way. That's not a very convincing way. I'm sorry. A better way would be this. You know what? I really genuinely feel you should not smoke. The reason for this is on the cigarette packs itself, they write that smoking causes cancer. And here's my point. You're a very intelligent, educated person. And I truly believe that the world needs more people like you. Why would you want to lose some of the most precious years of your life to cigarettes? Don't smoke. In fact, you know what? I have an uncle and he started smoking at the age of 18 because his friends convinced him to smoke. And he was dead by the time he was 36. He had a 10-year-old son. Now, what exactly did I do here? I used the PREP formula. I told you, this is my point. You should not smoke. You should not smoke. Then I gave you the reason. This is why you should not smoke, because smoking causes cancer and cancer kills, and you're an intelligent person and we love you and we don't want you to have bad health. Then give an example. Give an example to prove what you're trying to say. Your example could either be a story. Remember, we prepared stories when we were talking about pathos or appealing to the limbic system. So you could use your story here as an example, or you could use facts and data as an example. Remember, we prepared them using logos. That's where we use them. You could use your facts and your data as an example here to prove your point. You could say, you know what? You should not smoke. Reason, smoking causes cancer. Smoking kills. We love you. You're really intelligent. We would not want anything to happen to you. In fact, do you know that people who smoke on average tend to live 8 years less than people who don't? Do you know that people who smoke have lungs which are black and charred? And do you know that people who smoke cannot run as fast as they need to? So what you are doing here is, instead of appealing to the emotions, now you are appealing to the neofrontal cortex, or now you are appealing to the facts and to the logical mind of this person. So in your examples here, use examples depending on the person you're speaking to. If you're talking to somebody who's likely to understand using stories, who's likely to understand using emotions and connections, in that case, yes, use the stories that you prepared. But if you are speaking to somebody who's more likely to understand using numbers and facts and figures and data, use that in your example. Use numbers, use facts, use figures, use data in your examples. And finally, end it by repeating your point so that you've not only started your topic, you have explored your topic properly. I repeat, this is the most important rule when it comes to speaking clearly in a persuasive scenario. Point, reason, example, point. This is what I think you should do. I think you should stop smoking, or I think smoking is really bad for health. Reason, smoking causes cancer and cancer kills people. Why would you want to put yourself in a scenario like that? In fact, do you know my uncle, and then give your uncle's story here, and then you say that he passed away, leaving a 10-year-old son. That's why I think you should not smoke. So point, reason, example, point. On the other hand, if I was talking to, let's say, a chartered accountant, if I was talking to somebody who I thought would not care so much about the emotions, but is more likely to understand by giving facts and figures in the example, I would be doing that. I would be giving facts and figures in the example of my prep rule, and I would be convincing them accordingly. Is that okay? So if you've understood the prep rule, let me go to the next point of what should you do when you communicate persuasively. Next, point number 4. So the first point was establish your credibility, who you are. Tell them if they don't already know. Number 2, establish the context. Why is it important to have this conversation? Number 3, use the prep rule. Number 4, always remember, use questions. When you speak in any format, anywhere, anytime, use questions. You know, questions have the ability really to not only engage your audience, to not only make them feel valued, to not only make them feel heard. Questions also can help you to recheck whether they are understanding, whether they are with you or not. Which is why, if you remember, as soon as I came in, I spoke to ma'am at ICAI in New Delhi, and I asked her, ma'am, is it okay? Can we switch on the chat box? Because I would love to hear from students. My style generally as a speaker is, I love to see faces of people. I love to see all the videos on, right? And when that happens, not only am I getting feedback from them, not only can I understand whether they've heard, whether they've understood or not, but it also really helps me understand and connect with them, and they feel valued as well. When I'm in a Zoom meeting just like this one, what I normally do is I tell the students, don't unmute yourselves, but every time I ask you a question, write yes, yes, or no, no in the answer. So the moment they feel they're giving feedback, the moment they feel they're engaged, they communicate better, they feel more valued, and they are able to have a more two-way or a much stronger communication with me, which is what you really want. So next, ask questions, because the moment you start asking questions, the communication becomes a lot stronger, a lot more vibrant, and it connects a lot better with the other person. Next, what should you avoid when you want to have a persuasive communication? There are 2 things you want to avoid. Number 1, one-way communication, where it seems like a speech. You're not giving a speech at all. You are trying to convince somebody. You are trying to persuade somebody. So please remember, it should not be that you are speaking at them, going, but, telling them what you want to say. It should be conversational. They should feel valued. They should feel heard. They should feel that you are actually talking to them, talking with them, not at them, if you understand the difference. Talking with them, talking two-way, and talking at them, which is you just going and speaking and expecting an answer. That's not how persuasive communication works. They should feel engaged. They should feel you're giving them a chance to speak. They should feel you're listening to them. That really, really helps in persuasive communication. Next, avoid saying sorry. That really puts you on a lower pedestal. Some people just have a habit of saying sorry. I was one of those, and I know this feeling, before you start a sentence, you're like, I'm sorry, can I just add that? You don't have to be sorry at all. It's a communication. It's a dialogue. You are supposed to speak. Avoid using the word sorry, because that puts you on a lower pedestal, and you don't want to do that. So here I do a quick recap. I'm actually looking at the time all the time because I have a 1 hour slot, and I would hate to exceed that because I know you want to leave. So I'm looking at the time, and I'm doing it quite on time as of now, but I'm just going to take it like this. Okay. So when we communicate, it's extremely important to remember, number one, establish credibility. Number two, establish context. Number three, use the prep rule. Point, reason, example, point to tell the other person. Number four, ask questions so you can understand whether they've understood or not. That's number one. But number two, they feel valued, they feel connected, they feel that this is a two-way communication, and they feel really, really good about it. Okay. So these are the points when you think about how to speak. The two do's and the two avoids are: number one, avoid saying the word sorry. Even if when you are apologetic, it's fine, but don't say sorry out of habit, because some people have a habit of doing that. Number one, don't say sorry when you're just saying it out of habit. And number two, very importantly, never ever speak at them, speak with them. Have a two-way communication, because this really makes a huge difference. Okay. Now we understood how to speak. Now, if you see that the communication is going well, the other person is getting persuaded, the other person is getting convinced, what do? You say something like, I really trust that you're going to follow up on this. So there are two things that are important in this end part. In the end sentence, when you see that the other person is getting convinced, there are two things that are really important. Number one, the words, I trust you. I really trust that you are going to do this in the right way. I genuinely trust that you are going to follow up on this. I trust you on that. I trust your understanding. The moment we tell somebody we trust them, they take it as a burden on them. They take it that they don't want to let anybody's trust down. So when you say that, the other person is more convinced and the other person wants to act in accordance with what has been discussed. So number one, I trust you. And number two, let's do this. Give a call to action. I trust that you're going to take action immediately. I trust that you're going to stop smoking immediately. I trust that you will give me a one-day leave. I trust that you are going to do this. So I trust you plus call to action in the same sentence. What happens is, A, when you say I trust you, the other person takes it upon themselves. They don't want to break your trust. Nobody wants to break somebody's trust. That's number one. And number two, what also happens when you say I trust you is that the other person, and when you give a call to action, is the other person knows exactly what is expected of them and knows exactly what the takeaway of this conversation has to be. So when you are communicating with a method, with a way to persuade, you have to keep in mind that you always leave them with a clear, definite call to action. So you say, I trust that, and then your call to action. What is it that you want them to do? I trust that you will stop smoking immediately and go towards better health. I trust that you will take action on this mail immediately and respond positively. I trust that you are going to give me a day leave because I really need that. I trust that you are going to do whatever it is that you want. Because the moment you say, I trust you, there is a burden on them. They don't want to break your trust. That's number one. And number two, very, very importantly, when you say and when you reiterate the call to action, what you are really doing is you are giving them a very definite takeaway from the conversation, which they're going to take back home with them and follow up on. Okay, so we spoke about what to do in case the conversation is going well and they're agreeing with you. On the other hand, if the conversation is not going very well at all, what exactly do you do? If the other person has points that are not agreeing with you, always remember, listen to them, ask them questions, listen to them. Out of everything they say, highlight the point they're agreeing on, and then ask them what you would then share with them what this sentence. However, let's look at it like this. Let's say I tell you to stop smoking, okay? Let's say what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to persuade you to stop smoking. Now, you don't agree with me. In the middle, you say, yeah, Mansi, I understand the health problem. However, it's going to take a lot of time to happen. It's not happening to me right now. I'm just 21 years old. Suppose that's what you say. What am I going to do? I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to go to the one point where you agreed with me. I'm going to hold that point. I'm going to highlight that point, and then I'm going to put in another thing. I'm going to say this. See, you agree with me. I'm so glad that you agree that health problems are possible. And I do understand that you think you're very young. But you know what? Some people are known to develop diseases even at the age of 24. And that's not very far. And that is something you should be thinking about right now. So what did I do? Rather than saying, no, you are wrong. You're not correct at all. I don't agree with you. Rather than getting into a confrontational mode with you, rather than getting into a mode where I'm fighting with you, what did I tell you? I said to you, yes, I agree with you. The one part where you agreed with me, I pick that up, I highlight that, and then I add something else after that. So after that, then I say, you know what? I agree with you. See, you agreed, right? That smoking can have bad effects on the health. And yes, I did tell you that my uncle got cancer when he was 36. However, people as young as 24 are known to have developed it. Would you like to have that to you? So what you are doing is agreeing with them, making them feel valued, agreeing with them on one fact, and then adding in what you want to say again based on the research you've done. So adding in the point that you want to say in order that they are then receptive to you. So when you agree with the other person, they become receptive to you. Don't use the words, no, I do not agree, I do not think so. No. Whatever they agree on, pick up that point and add your point after that. They are more receptive to what you're trying to say. They open up to you, and then their brain is willing to process what you're trying to say after that. So even if the conversation is not going very well, people are not getting persuaded with you, it's fine. Pick up, highlight what they're agreeing with, highlight the point where they are with you, say that, repeat that, and then add in whatever it is that you want to say. Is that okay? I hope it is. Okay, on that note, I'm going to go to the final thing that I wanted to share with you today. First, we spoke about the mindset, then about the preparation, then about how to speak, and now I'm going to talk to you about the manner. So we spoke about the mindset, we spoke about the preparation, we spoke about what it is that you're going to say. I told you certain specific sentences, and finally I'm going to be telling you about the manner or how you're going to say it. Now, in the manner, there are three things that are extremely desirable, especially when you want to communicate, that you want to persuade or convince somebody. Three things that are desirable are, number one, that you are passionate about the topic. You know a lot about the topic and you're passionate about it. That is something that's very desirable. That is a manner you would want to have. Number two, you are in control of your emotions. You're not going all crazy because they're not agreeing with you immediately. And number three, that you are confident and you know what you're talking about. So the three things that are extremely desirable in the manner of your speech is, number one, that you are passionate, you are very, very passionate and involved and engaged in what you're saying. Number two, you are extremely confident about what you're saying. And number three, you are in control of your emotions. You're not losing emotional control, because the moment you showcase that you're losing emotional control, that conversation is over. It's not going to happen in the way you want it to be. You have to have complete control over your emotions as you speak, so that you can provide logical arguments and connecting stories so that people are convinced by what you're trying to say. Okay, so how exactly can we portray these three things? In control, confident, and passionate. While body language, again, is a huge topic, generally when I do sessions on body language with my students, with participants, I take 3 to 4 hours just to discuss body language in various different scenarios. Today, I'm just going to give you 5-6 different points that are going to help you as you go on this journey, as you start actually making convincing conversations, and as you start persuading people. Number one, have complete control over your volume. The moment your volume is in control, you come across as a controlled and calm person. If your volume becomes high because for some reason the other person is not agreeing with you and you lose control over your volume, immediately you lose the battle. In any persuasive scenario, you have to be the controlled, calm person if you want that persuasion to go in your favor. So number one, volume has to be in control. Never go too loud, never go too soft. Have control over your volume at all times. Number two, your pitch should be low. What is pitch? The pitch is the sharpness or the shrillness of your voice. When I talk about pitch, I'll just explain it like this. That's high pitch. That's low pitch, right? So this is pitch. It's different from volume. Volume is that's volume. Pitch is that's pitch. Now, your pitch is something when you get emotionally charged up, when you're excited, when you're anxious, when you're nervous, your pitch generally tends to go up high. What you want to do is to showcase complete emotional control. Make sure your pitch is low when you're trying to persuade people. That way, they will feel that you've never lost control of your emotions. That way, they will feel that you're completely in control over your emotions, and you are going to be able to be more convincing and stronger as you speak. Number three, eye contact. Now, eye contact is a huge field of study in itself. I work a lot on eye contact when I'm speaking to especially beauty pageant winners and people who are representing the country abroad. I speak a lot about eye contact. Let me just tell you this. When you make a persuasive speech or a persuasive conversation, remember that your eye contact has to be with the person you're talking to, because this showcases three things. Number one, engagement. It keeps the other person engaged in the conversation. Number two, it shows that you're confident. You know what you're talking about, absolutely. Number three, it showcases earnestness, sincerity, or passion. So the moment you have good eye contact as you speak, it showcases that you're earnest, you're sincere about what you're saying, you're passionate about what you're saying, and you genuinely mean your words, which is a great thing to have in any communication scenario. So when eye contact is concerned, you must remember, showcase sincerity, engagement, as well as confidence and knowing your material by making good eye contact with the person you're speaking to. Number two, hands. You see, when I speak to you, I use my hands in a way to strengthen my message. My hands also give off different kinds of messages. And when I say things like point 1, point 2, point 3, what is happening is you feel, oh, she is very clear about what she's saying. She knows what she's talking about. So if you use your hands meaningfully in a conversation, you come across as a confident speaker, which is exactly what you want, especially when you're looking to persuade people. So to showcase confidence, of course, there are 10,000 different things that you can do. But one way of showcasing confidence is using your hands to highlight your points and to add stress facts to whatever it is that you want to say. So the next thing was use your hands to highlight your points so that you come across as a confident speaker and you are able to establish your credibility properly, and whoever it is that is listening to you is easily convinced by what you're saying. Next, and point number 5, I think, when we talk about manner or body language, is this. Now, this is a very, how should I put it? It's almost like a secret. This is something people don't talk about a lot. You won't really get any reference of this on the internet, yet I've seen that this works, yet I've tried it multiple times in my life, and this works every single time. There is a concept of space. What is space? How much of space you're willing to take, how much of space you're willing to occupy. If you're not a very confident person, you will sit like this. You will not take up a lot of space. If you're a confident speaker, you're a confident person, you're going to keep your coffee mug away. You're going to keep things away. You're going to take up more space on the table. Imagine this when you're going for a meeting, and if you go into somebody's office, they're occupying a lot more space than you. They already have sort of an upper advantage over you. When you want to persuade somebody and you want to feel an extra dose of confidence as you speak, sit with your shoulders broad and use your hands to create space around you and keep your things. Let's say you have a bottle of water or a bag or a purse or papers or a portfolio or whatever. Don't use less space. Don't give yourself smaller space. Spread out the overall space that you have, because this gives you a feeling of confidence, a feeling of bigness. It is one of these, let's call it a little trick that works. And I've tried it very successfully with all sorts of people. Using space and being absolutely unapologetic about taking up space gives you a sense of confidence, a sense of like, I own this place. It gives you a sense of that. And it's really good, especially when you're looking to persuade somebody. So on that note, let me do a quick 2-minute recap before we open up the floor for questions and answers. Okay. Firstly, when it comes to persuasion, remember 4 things you have to keep in mind: mindset, preparation, what to say, how to say it. In the mindset, we spoke about number 1, understanding them, understanding who they are. Number 2, understanding what are the main takeaways that you want them to have after this entire conversation is over, or speech, or whatever it is that is over. And number 3, understanding that there are 2 parts of the brain, the monkey brain and the neofrontal cortex. And this is where a lot of people make their decisions from. Number 2, after mindset, we understood preparation. How do you prepare? 3 ways. Number 1, ethos, which means building up your brand, building up your credibility, building up who you are, because that has a great role to play when you're convincing somebody. Number 2, pathos, which means coming up with stories and anecdotes which connect emotionally with people, which connect people to you. And number 3, logos, which means numbers, statistics, figures, facts, data, which immediately appeal to the neofrontal cortex or the human brain of people. How you use these would depend on the situation and depend on who you're talking to. When you speak, what are some of the things you must do? Number 1, establish your credibility, establish who you are, establish what skills, what experience you bring to the table. Number 2, after you establish your credibility, establish the context. Why is it important to have this conversation? Why should they listen to this conversation? Number 3, use the prep rule: point, reason, example, point. What is your point? What is the reason? What examples can you give? Here you can give either stories or numbers, data, facts, whatever it is, and again, repeat your point. So the point, reason, example, point rule. And finally, use questions. Use questions in order that you can actually share and in order that the other person feels valued and you can also understand whether they've understood or not. What should you avoid? You should avoid speaking at them, which means I'm just giving you all this information. I don't care about what you've understood or not. So speaking at them should be something you avoid. Second, avoid using the word sorry, because that pulls you down and you don't want to do that when you're convincing people. If the conversation is going well, how do you end it? You end it by saying, I trust that, or I trust that you will. You first tell them that you trust them and then give them a call to action and immediately see how much more pressure they feel to do what you want or to get convinced by what you're saying. That's number 1. Number 2, if they disagree with you, highlight the one little thing where they agreed with you, and then add, I would like to add this to that. However, I would like to suggest that. Let's think of it like this. Highlight where they agree with you, so they're more conducive, they're more accepting of what you're saying, and after that, add in whatever little thing that you want to say. And finally, in the manner or how to speak, you want to come across as somebody who's passionate, somebody who's in control, and somebody who's confident. Low volume or decent volume, low pitch. Use your hands, use eye contact, and finally, take up space if you want to have great manner for persuasion. On that note, I'm done with whatever I wanted to say. I promise you I tried to make it as easy to understand, as practical, as implementable. Because for me, I can give you tons and tons and tons and tons of technical data. But students, I genuinely want you to be able to apply these in your life, which is why I gave you such easy data, such easy to use information, sentences that you can actually apply and see your conversations changing with the people around you. On that note, over to you, ICAI New Delhi. Thank you so much for this, and I would love to answer whatever questions that may have come. Is there anybody here who would like to take over? ICAI New Delhi, would you like to take over? Would somebody from the technical support like to take over to moderate the question and answer round, because I don't have questions with me? Sure.
Ma'am, could you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you now, ma'am.
Yeah, there was a little bit of technical glitch. We kept on repeating all lines and then came to a conclusion that we are not audible. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries at all. I can see you and hear you finally now. Thank you so much for that.
Ma'am, it was a tremendous pleasure to hear you. Like me as a person who was hearing, so many of my constraints went away, to which I was fighting inside the mind. So it was rather a bliss for us to hear you. Now, on the other hand, I would like to tell you that our set of students who were hearing has increased to double when they started hearing you. So that's a considerable achievement because the students generally, they fight a lot of internal issues in their mind, and the way you have portrayed those issues will actually help them in the long run as well as in the present. Ma'am, I have one question for you. Like, we have two questions. Like, what are the challenges of persuasive communication? In a way, ma'am, I'll just tell you, like, every profession has its own challenges and benefits. Like the way you told that while you are communicating to a mass of audience, and everyone comes with a different mindset, right? That's what you told, and you told to understand the audience. That's a prime need to start a communication. What if that you don't get an audience who has unanimous thought process? It's like they defy from the normal way of process, and it's quite likely that they won't come into terms with what you are saying. Like, there might be differences with your views. So in a frame of time, how do you communicate with them, and how do you place things in such a way that you're able to overcome that challenge? Because this happens regularly with us. You know, we sit with a set of people, and so many people, we are having arguments, but I don't think argument would be an option. So can you please help us with that?
Sure. So you're basically talking about a scenario where you are speaking in public and the audience is not homogeneous. It's going to be a heterogeneous audience, which means everyone comes in with a different mindset, and you have the job of persuading all of them towards a common goal. Am I correct now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Great.
Right.
Okay. So here's what you have to do. In that case, you have to be able to, again, understand your audience and understand the factions or the group in the audience properly. That's extremely important. Let's say right now I can see on my screen, there are 3 of you sitting at ICAI New Delhi, right? Now, if I think that ma'am has a certain way of thinking, one of the sirs here has a different way, somebody has a different way, I must be able to anticipate A, what you are thinking, B, I must be able to give you exactly what you want. If I tell ma'am a story that's going to connect with her emotionally, if that's going to work with ma'am, I'm going to do that there. If I think that the sir in the blue tie is going to be convinced, if I'm going to tell him using lots of facts and figures and data, I'm going to do that. The sir in the mask, if I feel that he's going to understand, if I go back to an incident from his life, suppose I know him from before, and if I go back to an incident from his life where he learned a lot, he gained a lot, he shared a lot, and if I can use that as a context, he's going to understand. I'm going to have to appeal to that. There is no easy way to deal with a heterogeneous crowd. When your crowd is going to be heterogeneous, you have to keep everybody's opinions, their backgrounds, their cultural differences in mind as you speak. For example, today, I know I'm speaking to students and participants with different countries, right? All over the subcontinent, I believe, but different countries. Now, normally when I speak, because I speak 5 languages of the subcontinent rather well, I would have very happily used Nepali or Bengali or Hindi or Marwari or whatever it is that I could have, but I chose not to because I kept everybody in mind. Either you're going to, when the crowd is very heterogeneous, either you're going to use the umbrella approach, which means try and encompass all of them together. But if that's not going to work, try and use the micro approach, wherein you try and appeal to different people differently. It's never going to be easy, that I can promise to you, but there has to be a different thing. Everyone has a negotiation point. Everyone is going to get sold. You need to find out what it is that their bargaining point is, and you're going to give them that. Another very important thing that you can do is, and that you should do is, become a great listener. When I do sales trainings, right? Especially with car companies in Nepal. So when I do sales trainings, I always tell the salesperson, you know everything about the car, right? Honestly, I don't care about any of the features of the car. I care about the benefits it's going to give me. I don't care about the features, I care about the benefits. Now, let's say my husband and me have gone to buy a car together. We are a heterogeneous crowd. My husband only cares about the cost of the car. I care about the comfort that the car gives me. If the salesperson only talks about the cost of the car, my husband will be convinced, I will not be convinced. On the other hand, if he listens to me carefully and he understands, my husband cares about the cost, I care about the comfort, he talks about the cost and he talks about the comfort, the chances are he will be able to appeal to something in both of our brains and we will buy into his theory. So you have to become an even better listener when your crowd is heterogeneous, because in conversation, remember I spoke about asking questions. So in conversation, they will tell you what it is that they're after. Somebody cares about mileage. Somebody cares about comfort. Somebody cares about the color of the car. Somebody cares about how the neighbors are going to perceive that car. You got to understand what the other person cares about and give just that to them. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, ma'am, I got through that point that everyone will be sold. You just have to know the negotiation point. That's what you wanted. We have made you a lot of stress. Sorry on that.
No, don't worry about it. Tell me, go on.
No, but that was really nice. We just have to know that negotiation point where we can buy others' point.
Right.
Excellent, ma'am. Second thing, ma'am, while practicing persuasive communication, as you enlisted some of the points that we have to be a good listener, establish the context and credibility, point, reason, example, and then the burden of trust is there, communication. Apart from this, ma'am, can you just pinpoint on one thing which we should start off, like while practicing persuasive communication? What's the only thing which should be a bingo point? It's like something which cannot be, like everyone, ma'am, to be honest, everyone cannot be a pro in all these things. Being a good listener, of context, credibility. One cannot have everything, but can you point on one single thing which is a mandatory point while doing this persuasive communication? One has to, otherwise it's a failed deal.
Understand them. It's always about them. You ask me, I'll tell you what, ma'am, I go into all sorts of communication scenarios. When I speak to politicians, I've helped people prepare election speeches, right? I help people prepare election speeches. I've helped beauty pageant winners go to the international platform and express themselves there. I help CEOs plan speeches for the AGMs of different organizations. I speak at the AGMs of different organizations. I speak at many different national, international level platforms. Every time, there's just one thing you need to keep in mind. It is about them. You have to think about them, especially when you're looking to persuade them. The one point that I'm going to tell you is understand them very well. That's going to help the most. Ma'am, I cannot hear you.
We take this point as the most important point in the agenda, and we leave the students like they are highly benefited, but we as the organizational employees, we are also very much grateful for bringing us brilliant insights of the profession. I think now communication is a tad easier on our behalf to deal with the lot of people which we do into. Many thanks to you, and we are also very thankful to the Chartered Accountants of Nepal for bringing such brilliant speakers on board. And conclusion is a very small word for us on our end. We would be very much happy to have you and our other speaker next time also, ma'am. That will be great.
I'm truly looking forward to that. Ma'am, can I just make a quick request?
Yeah,
I would like to request, I have a feedback form, and I would love it if your students could fill that up. Whoever wants to can fill it up. And in fact, I've written a book, and I'm giving this book away free to all the students and anyone who attends my sessions. So if they fill that feedback form and they send in their email address, the book will be sent to them within 10 days. We're launching in 10 days. So if I could send you the link of the feedback form, it would be amazing. And then maybe the students could just, get the book as well if they wanted to.
Sure, ma'am. In that case, can we please, we would request ICAI Nepal that we will be sending our respective email IDs to you so that you can send us the form, and in case we give it to the students for a mass filling up of the feedback, and then it would come back to us and we would send it to you. Will that do?
Sure, absolutely. I would truly appreciate it, because everyone who opts in for the book, you just have to say, yes, I want the book. We're sending the book to them. So it's just something that I want to do with all the students and everyone who comes in for any session that I do. It's just a little gift for coming in. So I would love it.
And on the other hand, can we request you to share your email ID verbally so that to the students, whoever are watching, that they can directly put their questions to you if they have? Sure. I think that would help.
I will say it verbally. I'll say it a couple of times so people can take it down.
Yeah, please.
BACKOFFICE backoffice.mansi mansi@gmail.com. I repeat, BACKOFFICE.mansi mansi@gmail.com. That's backoffice.mansi, and I spell my name in a slightly odd way. So backoffice.mansi@gmail.com. That's my email address. You can always get in touch with me for anything, students.
That would be a two-way communication, ma'am. They can directly hit their questions to you, and you can please send the form to us. We will communicate to you through ICAI Nepal, and we will be so glad to have you and the other speakers along with us in this journey throughout, ma'am. We would be extremely obliged.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm truly looking forward to it. In fact, I would love to, I like the fact that we're all meeting virtually now, but I would also love to meet you all in person the next time we can. It would be amazing to get connected to everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And a heartfelt thanks from all of us. To conclude the session, I would like to just add on that we have our next session on 13th August 2021. and it would start at 3 p.m. So we would request every students and everyone who would like to be a part of the sessions to be there for a wonderful, informative session. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.